Good morning. How's everybody doing? Everybody excited? I know I am. I'm honored to be here. I'd like to welcome all you guys to Athletes Giving Back session. I am tremendously humbled and honored to be here on the stage with these two gentlemen. I'm sure that's who you came to hear from and see. And in fact, I brought my notepad because I wanted to take some notes. But welcome again. Really excited about this huge topic and a very much needed topic. And I couldn't think of any two gentlemen who's doing what they're doing to be here in front of you. So give them a hand right from the start. Let them know we appreciate them and all that they do. It's been said that a blessing is only a blessing when it's passed on to someone else. And I'm telling you, I followed these two gentlemen. For the first time, I've had the chance to meet both of them their entire career. I'm a former athlete myself, played at Purdue, played in the league in the 80s for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm honored to call Atlanta my home of the last 15 years. But I have been a tremendous witness of these two gentlemen. They don't even know it. I'm a huge fan of both of them. I was telling Michael things about things that he didn't even know about himself. So it's just an honor. And Dikembe Mutombo, everybody knows these gentlemen needs no introduction. They are unbelievable individuals. I'm deeply humbled that they have inspired me, and they don't have no clue that they've inspired me just by me following their work. So at this time, I want to introduce Mr. Dikembe Mutombo, who is a giant in every sense of the word, not just physically. Make sure you get that. This man has a heart of gold. I followed him because I'm a huge John Thompson, Georgia Warriors fan. I followed him his entire collegiate career in 18 years in the NBA. That deserves applause. Thank God he never did that to me on the court. I was a jump shooter. I wasn't going to try to dunk on him. But just a class act. I follow what he's been able to do for his home country and what he's done for so many children. The fact that he went off and had the vision to go home and try to build a hospital. You guys think about that. And he focuses on education and health and quality of life for his countrymen and for children. And he's done some amazing things. He's a father. He's a husband. A basketball player is not who he is. You need to understand who this man is. I can't wait to hear from him today. I brought my tablet to take notes, and I'm so excited because he has really inspired me to think bigger, dream bigger, and do better, want to do better. And so please welcome Dikembe Mutombo.
Thank you.
The other gentleman is the Super Bowl champion, wide receiver. He was listed as, at one time, one of the best all-around receivers in the NFL. I think he played for the New York Giants, and Super Bowl champion from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, also a father, a husband, a community leader. Both these gentlemen have foundations. They're going to tell a little bit about themselves more articulately than I possibly could, so I want you guys to hear from them and their stories. Michael just has a heart of gold. He's used to being in the trenches with the kids from the inner city and disadvantaged kids. He's used to being in the trenches, but he's here today, and he says it's a different environment for him, but we're just honored and thankful that he took time to join us as well. Please give Michael Clayton some love. Awesome. With that said, I'm going to ask these gentlemen to opening and tell them about their journey, what made them decide that they needed to do something to get involved in what they're doing. And tell them a little bit about your background, your post-athletic career, and talk a little bit about your athletic career, the lessons learned, the nuggets learned. And
That's a long story there.
You know you can cut it in half. But with that said, we're going to open the forum with Mr. Dikembe Mutombo.
Well, thank you, man, for sharing the stage with you here. And I think I have to applaud these two gentlemen on my right and on my left for being here with me. I think all of you guys also for coming. My story is a little bit long, but I'm going to try to make it a little bit short. As some of you guys know, my name is Dikembe Mutombo Polondo Mukamba Diken Jean Jacques Mutombo. I only got 9 names. I was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I came to U.S. In 1987 to pursue my education in medicine. Came from a father and a mother. My father was a teacher, made $37 a month. My mother was a housewife and trying to make sure that her children get a better education. But one thing kind of pushed us to be successful in life is the value that my parents and I and my mom gave to us, which was an education would be a key success of anything we want to do. Each one of us in the family, you have to pick whatever subject that we want to study in college. So I picked medicine. So I came to the U.S. To study medicine. I won a scholarship from the U.S. government, not for basketball, but because I was good in science and math and biology and chemistry. So I was given 7 schools to choose. So I felt that Georgetown was the right one. I think I made a great decision, as you know. And I think I went out to Georgetown and I was walking around minding my business on campus doing the student orientation. Then I get a call from the school president that they would love to meet with me to discuss other things. I was like, well, am I in trouble here? And so they told me that they want to ask me if I would like to play basketball. And I told them that I was not interested. I'd think about it. And they was like, oh no, the season is starting soon. We don't have time for you to think about it. I said, no, I'm not going to be part of it. Let's wait next year. So they gave me a chance to go and do my study. And a year later, I told them yes, that I want to play basketball. Then I went and played basketball for 3 years, and I was drafted. Went to the NBA, played 18 years. So it was great, good journey.
Tell us about your vision when you first got started doing what you're doing now for your homeland and other ventures you have going as far as giving back.
It was difficult for me as a professional athlete, playing the game and at the same time understanding that many people was dying in Africa. It was so difficult. And it come to the point in my life that I say, I have to do something. And I always felt that we as an athlete, especially professional athletes, I think we have a moral value and a moral duty to do something in our communities. It can be in a community where we live, a community where we're from, to give something back. It's no obligation, because I believe anybody in this world that we're living in, you didn't get where you are, not because it was not because of somebody. Somebody, somehow play a role or mentor you or show you the way for you to get where you are. So for you to turn back and go back is very important. And as I was looking to see what I could do, and I felt that building the hospital was going to be some of the greatest things that will carry my name from generation to come. Because when you build a hospital, people are born there, people die there, people get treatment. So it's something that is one of the institutions that will last for generation to come. And I said, why not? There was million children are dying in Africa until today, despite my hospital being built. More children still dying from malaria. Almost like 1.2 million children are dying every year. HIV continue to kill more people than anything else. Right now, more than 520,000 women are dying in Africa because of cervical cancer. So cervical cancer becoming one of the top priorities for me. In the Congo in particular, we are talking more than 20 million women. If they don't get treatment in the next 10 years, they will die. So I feel like I have a fight in my hands that I have to find a way to solve this problem. So with the gift that God gave to me to make money, to be famous, whatever you call it, to be well known, very well represented. And I felt like I can make a difference. I think that's what I'm doing today.
Phenomenal. That's phenomenal. The next gentleman I want to bring to you to the front now. That's like, you know, great job. You guys, I get excited every time I hear his story. I've followed him so much, I've seen him tell a story at least 5 or 6 or 7 times. If that don't inspire you to go out here and just to do better and dream bigger and give back more, I don't know what will. That's huge. The gentleman, Mr. Clayton, is somebody I also followed, and we have some mutual things in common. I'm a huge LSU fan, so I followed him even in college. And to see what he's doing now in his personal life after catching up the football and being on the playing field is really exciting, because I didn't know that he was going to be here, and I was really excited to talk to him. So when we had a chance to chat earlier. So Mr. Clayton is also a father and has some beautiful children, and he also is an entrepreneur. He has a business with his father. I think it's real estate. I've done my homework a little bit. But with that said, I want to introduce you guys to Mr. Michael Clayton. Michael.
First of all, thank you guys for having me here. It is an absolute pleasure to sit on a panel with the likes of Mr. Dikembe Mutombo, and I never could imagine that I would be here on this stage at this moment. I think that we're here to give you an example of how the athlete and his influence, or his or her influence, has on our youth and young adults in America. Coming up, I was 7 years old when my dad brought me to the Pete Maravich Center at LSU, and he brought me to a Harlem Globetrotters game. And we sat in the Raptors area all the way in the nosebleed section, and at halftime, I was a lucky kid who was chosen by Curly, who walked up all the way to the top of the stadium and pointed me out and pulled me out from the crowd. Now, at the time, I was a shy kid. I was scary. I wanted to play Monopoly and Uno with my cousins, while my other athletic cousins were outside playing football. And after this experience, Curly brings me out into the alley, and he spins a ball on my finger, and he gives me his wristband. And from that day forward, I wanted to be under the lights like the Harlem Globetrotters. It changed my life forever. A professional athlete woke me up to what my destiny would become. And I was 7 years old. I know the impact that we as athletes have, not just on our peers who are our age, but we can make a difference at kids who are 7 years old, because I'm a living testimony of that. Having said that, sports became a big part of my life. I played all sports: baseball, track, and football. And growing up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, particularly South Baton Rouge, one of the toughest areas in Baton Rouge, my dad found it beneficial for me to play football in the harshest parts of our city. And being a scary kid, you know, I wasn't quite used to that environment, the language that these young boys used. It was scary, to say the least. And before he was Atlanta's, he was Louisiana's. The great Ward Dunn was a role model to me and all young African-American kids growing up in South Baton Rouge. He was the local star. I played with his brothers Travis and Bryson for the South Baton Rouge Rams. And having Ward there was a beacon of light in our community, something to look forward to in life. And for him to go on and have the success that he had, he made a tangible dream reality to a lot of us coming from the inner city who couldn't quite see success through sports. Ward Dunn gave that to us as young black kids.
5 years old.
I was fortunate enough to take on, after playing with those rough kids, football. I became good at it. I became physical, and I played the game with reckless abandon. You know, I forced my will on my opponent, and I tried to destroy everybody who was in my face. A lot of times, you know, I played an 8-year career, but I extended my career by playing the game that way, and I was a wide receiver. A lot of people recognize me as a blocking receiver, but those are just qualities and things that I learned at a young age. And growing up in Louisiana, you know, the racial tension is highly present. And growing up as a kid, you recognized it. And the African-American kids that went to LSU didn't quite pan out, so my community didn't really support LSU. And then, one of the greatest, if not the greatest college coach in college history, Coach Nick Saban, came to LSU and changed that fashion of what we are going to do with our inner city kids. He recruited me with the likes of other Baton Rouge kids, and we changed a major university from mediocre to a world-renowned dynasty of what it is today. I was a part of Coach Saban's first national championship in 2003. When I look back, we were the blueprint of all of his success that he's had at Alabama. And so I take credit. Roll Tide. I'm still rolling Tide. I'm a Tiger, but we rolling Tide. And as he continues to have success, it adds on to the legacy of what I would like to leave behind. Having those experiences with great coaches like Nick Saban, who taught me more than just the game of football and how to play, but how to live life abundantly, and how to be great every minute of the day. These were characteristics that were taught to me by a coach who had a major influence on my life and success of life after football. My journey through sports, growing up as a young kid, being a national recruit, winning a national championship, staying at home, going to Louisiana State University, my hometown, and then being drafted in the first round, 15th pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I immediately became the new Ward Dunn in Baton Rouge. And as an athlete, you immediately have an instant power and influence. I underestimate the power of the tag. I'm in unfamiliar territory here in Atlanta. From Baton Rouge, lived 10 years in Tampa, so I'm not really sure how many people here in Atlanta know who I am. But I've heard so many stories since I've been here. I've followed your career, and thank you for what you do. So I really underestimate the tag, and I appreciate the encouragement that we get from others, for the likes of yourselves, and I commend you because people like myself, we need to hear that because we just don't know a lot of the times. When I was drafted in Tampa, you know, I was the talk of the town. I was the 5th best rookie performance in NFL history, 80 catches, 1,193 yards. I tore it up. The whole talk of the town was about me, and sometimes only me because we only won 5 games that year, which was okay. But that's really started. My whole life had always been so good, and I had never really had a testimony. And sports really gave me this. My second year in Tampa, it was nothing like my first year. In fact, no year after that, the 8 years that I played, was equivalent to my rookie year. I had to deal with being fired. I had to deal with playing football, a game that I loved, a game that I was always successful at. Now I was faced with having to be on the other side. I was no longer the first-round draft pick. I was no longer the talk of the town. I was the blame, and I was the guy who was pointed at because of the reason why we're losing games. So a different approach to how I approached sports, I had to deal with this. And it was, I call it taking a piece of humble pie. And I had to really humble myself and find purpose. I'll never forget my godmother, after my rookie year, came to me and she said, you know, baby, she called me crying and she says, you are about to experience hell. And she says, God told me to tell you that you have to be obedient, you have to find purpose, and in the end, you will win. And for 7 years, I went through hell in Tampa. It was nothing like my first year. She also said, but pay no attention to the things that you go through, all right? I see you in the north. And I fast forward 7 years later, when I was fired from the Tampa Bay Bucks, I did not know if I would ever play in the NFL again. And quickly speaking through this story, I was asked to go play in the UFL, which is like a semi-pro league. At the time, I was under a $3 million contract with the Bucks, fired at the time. And they wanted me to go play in the UFL, which would probably pay me about $300 a week. And my pride got in the way, so about 7 weeks, I ain't doing that. I am not doing that. And then conviction hit. My mother gives me a passage, and the passage read, have faith, my son, I'm going to open doors, but you have to have the courage to walk through the door. And just as I read that passage, my agent called me and said, I really want to tell you about this opportunity in the UFL. And the conviction that I felt at that moment, I knew that I had to go. Even everything that was in me did not want to go. People talked about me. They said I had money problems. Why would he go play in that league? I was a first-round draft pick. How dare I show my face in a semi-pro league? What would my friends say? What would my fans say? This was the things that I was dealing with. But the conviction, and God thank my mother for waking me up and giving me a piece of humble pie. The next day I was in Omaha, Nebraska. When I got off the plane, I got the notion of being a leader amongst men that you don't know. And that's what I set out to do for 1 month in the UFL. At the end of that 1 month, every guy on that team knew that I was a leader, and every coach came to me and said, if anybody makes it back to the NFL, you're going back. We practiced at a community center, potholes, ant piles, trash everywhere. And the reality was there was a lot of guys who were content with their situation. They were okay with that $300 a week, and I wasn't. I didn't complain about my surroundings. I just wanted to be great every day, the same things that I was taught through sports at LSU. And now I was utilizing those things in an unfamiliar territory in the UFL. A month later, the New York Giants called me and they said, we want to give you an opportunity to come work out for us. And at that time, I had 1 game left, and I told the New York Giants, I have to finish what I start. I have 1 more game left, and if the opportunity presents itself, you know, I'll gladly come. Now, the only reason why I went to the UFL was to get back into the NFL, to use it as a platform. And now I was faced with conviction again to finish what I start. And I tell young men all the time, stand for something or you'll fall for anything. When I had the opportunity to stand boldly and finish what I started, I didn't know what I was creating. At the time, the Giants had a receiver, Akeem Nicks, and Victor Cruz, and Dominique Hickson. One of the guys got hurt. And I played that next week, and I finished, and just so happened he tore his ACL, and they ended up calling me. And I think about, you know, had I gone the week before, they probably would have sent me home because that guy wouldn't have been hurt. Now, I don't want it that way, but this was for me. And I go on to play 2 years in New York and win a Super Bowl. And I tell you guys, that year was very divine. Week 4, I began to tell the guys that this was a year of a breakthrough, that we were going to win a Super Bowl. And every time that I signed an autograph, I signed the 2012 World Champs without doubting. And I take you back to what my godmother told me after my rookie year, when she said, have no fret, you know, stay close to God, in the end you'll win, but I see you in the north. When I went to Omaha, Nebraska, I thought, I hope this wasn't the north that you were talking about, Lord. But then when the New York Giants called me, I knew exactly that I had met my purpose. I tell you guys this story because I want you to know who I am and what I've experienced and what I've been able to accomplish. Yes, I played for Nick Saban, the greatest college coach arguably in America. I played for Tom Coughlin in the NFL, one of the greatest coaches, NFL coaches who's ever done it. And I won a Super Bowl and a national championship. The thing that I take most away from sports, it was the power of influence that I had in the National Football League. When I got to New York, I didn't go to play football, which is probably why I only stayed for 2 years. I went with a passion and a purpose to lead men to Jesus Christ. That was my mission. And through sports, it gave me a platform to do just that every single day. And because I did that, I was able to honor people like Coach Coughlin and hear him speak about little old me in the national media in New York and say some things who would validate who I am as a person, and I believe why I'm asked to do things and be in this type of setting. I'm not a Hall of Famer. I will never be that. But when you talk about utilizing your influence, I think that I'm a perfect example of you don't have to be the guy to make a difference. It does take a village to raise a child, and I'm a living testament to that. When I overlook, once I retired from football and walked away, I had an opportunity to write a book. And sports gave me this opportunity, and that's when I found my purpose. I was a part of those kids in the inner city who fell by the wayside, who should have had the same type of life that I had. They were better than me. They were bigger than me. They were faster than me. But they didn't have a father like I had and a mother like I had. They didn't have the discipline to teach young people to listen to your teachers and your mentors, and that there is people out there who care about you, and the opportunity for you to be successful is a choice. And you are a product of your choices, not a product of your environment. These are the things that I had constantly reminding me every day from the people who love me. And now I sit as an athlete, and people respect us just because we wore the tag. I had an opportunity to write a book. I'm not a writer, was never much of a reader, but I like to speak and tell my story, so I wrote a book. That book gave me an opportunity to go to speak to hundreds of kids. It gives me an opportunity to, people to bring me in to speak to businesses, Fortune 500 companies, and motivate them through sports. And when I look at the power of influence through sports, I see all of these intellects here, and I say, man, if an athlete had what I saw yesterday on that panel, if we can combine the athlete's influence and the expertise of these politicians and the people that we see on CNN, we would be a force to reckon with. And we wouldn't need the government. And we wouldn't need the government to do certain private things. The thing about wearing the tag is everybody wants to be involved with an NFL player or an NBA player. It's so easy for us to raise money. And I'll tell you this last story. I started my foundation called the Generation Next Foundation with the purpose of helping underprivileged kids, those same kids that I saw fall by the wayside. And we began to house foster kids. And in this system, you see kids who come out and they just have no clue because they never had parents and they're completely lost. And what I've been able to do is an NFL guy goes into the middle of the hood, and that whole hood knows that Michael Clayton is on the block. And it's a very powerful thing. There was a situation at one of my properties where a young man got involved with one of the hood guy, Lil Pookie and them, and they literally came to my property with guns. And not guns in your jacket or tucked away, literally guns out, ready to kill. This is my name on the line. The power of influence. When I pulled up on the block, they called, they harassed my guy. We see Mr. Mike just pulled up. I said, what'd he say? Mr. Mike, they say they see you. What'd he call me? Mr. Mike. Oh, Mr. Mike, huh? I get out of the car, I walk to where these young men at. They approach me with guns. Hey, young man, hold, wait. Mr. Mike, we need to holler at you. We need to tell you something. I said, hey, listen, let's handle this like men. I said, if you want to fight, let's fight with these. Put the guns away. I own a boxing gym. We can make this an event if this is what you want to do. You know? I'm down with that. I'm not far removed from inner city as well. From that day, I realized the power of influence. That educated man on CNN or that politician can't come into that hood and get called Mr. Mike. And that's just the reality of it. So how do we combine our resources to make the greatest impact? We link together people's passions. We combine our resources and we tackle our problems together. The reason why I'm here is to introduce you guys to me and my organization in hopes that there is somebody out here who can lend a helping hand or connect the dots. I'm 33 years old. I was drafted early, so I don't have my undergrad. I'm missing my first day of school being here because I'm enrolled. I'm a 33-year-old senior. And it's all right.
Good stuff. Great stuff. Give Michael a hand. That's tremendous testimonial. Inspired once again. There was a reason why I didn't introduce myself. I got a text saying you need to introduce yourself because I feel so humbled and honored to be here with these two gentlemen. My name is Walter Jordan. I'm a Purdue graduate. I played in the NBA. I had a cup of coffee. I didn't play 18 years like this gentleman here. We have something in common. I'm the seventh of 10 children as well. I've been involved in the kid business all my life. I've coached at every level but the NBA. I was a D-League mentor. I've been blessed to run an organization called Team Impact Hoops, where we've been blessed to help over 80 kids find their college homes, academically and athletically. So really take pride in that. We have young men, youth leadership conferences. We have a huge one coming up at the end of February at Dantana's downtown. Please mark your calendar. That is called Walter Jordan's Youth Conference. We looking for, I'm hoping to adopt one or two or both of these gentlemen to come in as speakers for my leadership conference. I haven't asked them yet. But we really believe in impact. Two things I was hearing both stories, two things came to my mind. The first thing is that everything not growing is dead. The second thing in life, you must struggle. The nuggets is in the struggle. And the third thing that came to my mind was simply this. I learned to play 5-on-5 at an early age. I understand that I couldn't be 1-on-5 and win. Hell, I couldn't even get the ball to bounce. We need a team. One of the things that bother me most about social media is you don't hear these stories. You hear about one guy make a mistake or that kind of thing. It's all over everywhere. If you want people to like something on Facebook, make it negative. Tell them something's hurting you or somebody died. Post about this event, see how many likes you get. Let's keep it real in our community. Is that not true? And each of us in our circle, we have to make a difference. We have to make a difference. That's why we have to network. I salute you, everybody, for being here today because to me, this is so fulfilling. I am truly inspired today. And I had some questions written down, but this is not about me. It's about you guys getting any questions you have answered. Just for the sake of time, I know we're cutting it short and we apologize for being late, but everybody knows Atlanta traffic because I was late. So apologize for that. But if you have a question, please form a line because we can't see you in the bright light. Step here or step here and please address whoever you want to address the question to. We'd be more than willing because I don't want to answer my questions. I want you guys to get your questions answered. Is that fair? So let's do it as quickly as possible. I know people are trying to time me and saying we got to go. At least get a couple questions in, please.
All right, let's get a couple questions. Let's see. So
Get behind you.
People here, and go ahead, come over here, and then that'll be all. All right, go ahead, stand, sure. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
My name is Markeith Wood. It's an honor for me to be here today to hear the speaking, and I have that passion. I've been having that passion for a long time, and former athlete, never made it to the level that you guys have made it to. But my thing is, when you have people, the average man who wants to be linked to guys of your stature, not because of the fact that you have the celebrity that you have, but because of your passion that you would have had regardless whether you made it to professional sports or not. How do we link to your passion and also make this movement occur?
Well, it's quite simple, you know. That business card that you handed, you reach out. I think that there are so many resources that are not tapped into. A lot that comes to mind with me is that I really don't know what's out there. I know that my program can do 10 times the more work with a grant writer on board. I don't know the first thing about grants. In order for me to make a major impact, that grant writer has to see me, feel my passion, and get involved. And I think that that is the first step. Get involved. I had over 10 foster kids in my group at one time, and a lot of them didn't make it because they didn't live up to the expectation. And I had a board group that I set up to help me micromanage. Now the reality is, once they got to know these kids and see the everyday correction that you had to do and the passion that you had to help fix these kids, they were no longer interested in working with these kids. So when you meet someone with the passion, sometimes I don't get paid to do what I do, it's my purpose. So align yourself with people who have the same passion, and I know without a shadow of a doubt that when two people who are passionate about something, all right, it's gonna come into fruition.
That's exactly right. Not to cut you off, Michael, but that's exactly right. Your purpose is not his purpose. God's plan for you is not his plan for Michael or Mutombo or me. He has a plan for you. You have to find your own passion. I'm passionate about health and wellness and keeping our kids from dying at an early age. I'm very passionate about that because I lost my son. I'm passionate because I'm a quadruple bypass patient and I'm a diabetic. I'm passionate about trying to help us live 10 years longer. I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about helping kids live a better quality of life and understanding who they are. Not because they play basketball, who they are. And that's something we're passionate about. Dikembe, you want to respond to that?
One thing I would say that it's very difficult for any athlete to go out and make a difference if you don't have no passion. You know, it comes to something that you believe in. You can't just wake up in the morning and say, I want to build another YMCA here in the corner. If you're going to build another YMCA, are you going to be passionate about it? Are you going to have a time every evening to go there to mentor some young people? Are you going to be able to continue to raise money to make sure that you keep the light and the water inside the YMCA keep going? Those are the things that I do every day. I built a $30 million hospital. If you know that I did donate $25 million myself.
Wow.
But I knew that there was more work yet to be done to keep the hospital going. I have more than 420 doctors and nurses work for me. It's an $8.2 million budget. And I have to keep the medicine flow. I got to make sure that people are not dying in the hospital. You have to keep the ambulance running, all that stuff. You need to keep more American surgeons keep coming into the hospital. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Wow.
Sometimes you go to sleep, you be like, why am I here? You know, just make sure that you have a passion in it and you have a faith.
Everybody, I want to commend everybody here on stage for doing this. Thank you so much. I'm John Bryant. Dikembe, I know personally, has done so much for so many, gets no credit for it. This hospital he's put in Africa is unbelievable. He's written a check out
Thank you, bro.
Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. Guys, for the sake of time and give everybody else a chance, let's keep everything, our question and our answers down to 2 minutes. Okay, can we do that?
All right. Good morning. It's a blessing being here. Kenneth Ward. I'm a Tar Heel. But I'm also a former educator. I taught school in D.C. for 15 years. Now I run a nonprofit, College Bound. We graduate 100% of our kids from high school. We have a 100% college acceptance rate. And for the last 3 years, we had 100% of our students attend college.
Awesome.
So it's phenomenal work.
Awesome.
But what we struggle with, and I've taught some students who are athletes now. Bonte Davis, I taught him, and I'm a Tar Heel, so I went to school with Jordan and all those guys. But what I see happening is that there's this thing that's happening in our community where we're still selling that to our students. And I think athletics are great. My niece played NCAA ball. She got a full scholarship, but she's working in finance now. The reality is, we've heard them talk about it on the panel, is that these guys, these students, are not going to end up like you. They're not going to have these chances, Michael. They have a better chance of being a brain surgeon, and there are more cardiologists than there are people playing in the NBA. There are more black cardiologists.
Yes.
So we're not telling that story to our kids. I take students, Mutombo, to Africa every year. I've been doing this for 15 years. We get into Ghana, it's the same thing. The students there, they want to be footballers. They want to play football. That's the dream. That's the narrative that's being told. How do we tell a counter narrative? How do we really use athletes and hold them accountable to really change that narrative? Because we know, as they said, 85% of these brothers leave the league. 5 years later, they're broke. So they have this money, they have the mic. And as Oprah says, if you have the mic, and you're not saying anything worthy, why do you have the mic?
Exactly.
So how do we hold these brothers accountable? And
You
we're
know
not
what?
right
You
here
have
in
to
the
have a
studio.
good coach, you know. Not just good parents. I think me personally, I thank God that I was put in the hands of someone that I respect so much, like a father by the name of John Thompson, who told me that, son, this ball that you're holding in your hands will stop bouncing one day. Then what you gonna do next? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long you play in this league. Even you play 1 year, 2 years, or 18 years, that ball will stop bouncing. And then you got to have a plan B and plan C. And that way come to the point, education. There's no other exit in the life beside education. You need your education. And I'm glad that I got mine. And I'm using it very well today. Otherwise, I'm not going to be serving as an NBA Global Ambassador and assistant to the commissioner if I didn't have this education. I'm not going to be going to all of the conferences around the world speaking on behalf of the NBA if I didn't have an education. Education is still the key. So we need to take the message to our young people to know that.
I would also add that we have to be careful with trying to redirect kids who have dreams to be superstars in sports. It is their dream. We also have, if we're not telling kids to exercise, now we're looking at an obesity epidemic that we struggle with.
Exactly.
So we do need to get these kids exercising, and if they have a dream to be sports stars, now it's important for the private sector to empower the athletes who have the passion to make the difference. Because see, we carry the torch and the testimony to tell you that, hey, I'm qualified to be a coach on any level, National Football League and college, but the reality is they tell me that I'm not qualified because I don't have that degree.
Yes.
So I have to go back to school and get my degree in communication that has nothing to do with sports to be qualified. So I have the testimony to tell that kid that life is hard right now for the past 4 years because the things that I want to do, I can't do because I didn't get my degree.
Exactly.
And if you want to be like me, if you don't want to have my struggles, you should get this degree. Try to get it in your first 3 years if you're planning on leaving school early. And we have that testimony as an athlete because we've lived it. We've done it. We were the very select few who made it. We hold the power to get that message across to that young person to say, empower yourself by getting your education first. If sports plans out, if it happens, then that's God's blessing to you, and take it to you.
Great stuff, Michael. Great stuff. Thank you, young man, for that question.